So Orzo actually read the credits and found out that he's project supervisor. He has now started supervising the work. We're concerned.
So today we're going to look a little bit more at equations. These equations are very important for drawing diagrams for Papa Izzo. Now, we normally start with y equals mx plus b. That is our m for our slope and our b for our y-intercept. We previously filled this in as the slope is up 1 over 2. And the y-intercept is 4 because it crashes into the y-axis at 4. This would be called the slope-intercept form of the line, and it is not the only form of a line. Sometimes people use this point. And what they do is they calculate that is 14, 11, and then plug it into this equation up here. The y minus k equals m parentheses x minus h. The h and the k are the 14 and the 11. So this is 14, it's in the x position, so it should go next to the x in our equation. This is the y value, so it should go next to the y in the equation. And then, of course, our notorious slope is up 1 over 2, so that is what's going to go into our m, as it always does. So sometimes, instead of writing an equation as y equals mx plus b, they'll write the equation in this slightly more complicated way. Notice, if we take this way, we just drag it down here, we distribute the 1/2. So we take that 1/2 and we distribute into the parentheses. We get this, where 1/2 times x is 1/2 x, and 1/2 times a minus 14 is a minus 7. Then if I add 11 to both sides, it becomes y plus 0, because negative 11 and positive 11 cancel out. So we just get y on the left-hand side of the equation. And on the right-hand side of the equation, we get 1/2 x plus 4. Which means this equation here and this equation here are actually the exact same. They're the same equation, they go to the same line, it's just different methods of writing it. So some people write it in slope-intercept form, some write it in point-slope form. It would be like saying 30 degrees Fahrenheit or -1 degree Celsius. They're the exact same thing. If you do a little bit of math, you figure out that they're the exact same thing. And what they're saying is, it's really cold, particularly for May.
The paper diagrams and these 3D diagrams help us dramatically, particularly for today's mission. Today's mission is not only to do the edge around the roof, but it's also to make a hook on our frame so that the roof will hook onto the frame itself. Here Papa Izzo is working on the edge for our roof. It should look very similar to the edge we had for the floor. The only difference here is Papa Izzo is not going to be using the fancy edge material. We are not using that baseboard molding material. Instead, he's just using regular lumber, so it's going to be a little bit easier. In this case, we don't need to cut the angles at that 45-degree mark. Notice, just because I'm using a toothbrush to spread the glue on, doesn't mean that you should be eating glue. So what Papa Izzo doesn't know here is that he's using screws that are actually a little bit too long and will poke out the roof. This is unfortunate and means he's going to need to use a file to file the screws on the other side once we've got everything secured. Do you remember that fancy molding we used to do our edge for the floor? Well, Papa Izzo wants to use that to help him with the hook for the roof. In order to do that, he needs to shave off the fancy edge and cut it at the 5-degree angle. Finally, a perfect fit. Once again, do not eat or brush your teeth with glue. Now Papa Izzo needs to cut the lumber to use for the wooden hook on our frame. No splinters! Once again, at this point it might look like I'm being lazy, but I'm actually being used as a counterweight to make sure that the frame stays in position while Papa Izzo secures the base of the hook. Now it's time to see if the hook actually works. It does, thank goodness.